Bring on the wrecking machine.
Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and it is April 4th, YC126, and we're here to ask, what's in Ovakin? This is the Eve Universe Show! Welcome, welcome, welcome. How's it going, guys? Settle on in, like the stream, subscribe if you haven't already, because we are going to be jumping into some breaking news. I'm very excited. As I was setting up for the stream, I was like, oh, I should probably get all my pages up and running and good to go and all that stuff. And look, CCP has dropped a new event. Now, this is not probably one of those, like, I'm not saying like this is a new Easter event or anything like that. This is closer to one of those faction campaign kind of things, like Shadow Wars or the Epiphany or anything like that before it. However, it appears that this one in particular is designed to make it so that everyone, especially newer players, can get involved. So, what's in Ovakin? Well, what is Ovakin, first of all? Ovakin is this system right here that I am in, and I am outside of a new facility by the Upwell Corporation, or Consortium, rather. Ovakin is, Ovakin is in the Forge, so it's kind of near Caldari space. I'm actually on Kato Ash because the newbie system that she was in for the Caldari happened to be 7 jumps away from this system. So here we are. We can see when we look at it up close, we have a standard Asbel kind of thing in the background. But this facility here is the new thing, and it appears to be pretty clearly pointed at the planet. There is the Upwell Consortium kind of logo over here, and some sort of tower. But mostly it's about this new building over here. There is some other infrastructure over on the other side, including some like solar panels and some other emplacements and stuff. But obviously this is the big show. So let's look at it. If we look at it in game, we can see that its description just says the latest marvel from the Upwell Consortium. So let's get to see what Upwell has to say for itself. Let's pull it up. Pioneering Capsuleers, something new is taking shape among the stars in the high-sec system of Ovakin. The Upwell Consortium, through member corp Propel Dynamics has just deployed a new research and prototyping facility in orbit of Ovikin 6. They're offering Capsuleers the chance to contribute by collecting the items called drone graviton emitters from rogue drones in Empire space, as well as the containers within high-sec rogue drone combat anomalies, and bringing those items to Ovikin 6. This gives Capsuleers of any experience and skill level an opportunity to visit the system and contribute to the development of the facility. And there's a picture of it there. Contribute, collect, cash in. While its purpose is yet unclear, the prototype structure is a sight to behold and offers exciting activities for industrious Capsuleers. Pilots will have the option of gathering materials from specific sites and bringing them to a structure site to contribute the construction and trade reward crates. These contain Upwell Consortium loyalty tokens, which can be exchanged for ISK like reward tokens from any other group, and have a chance to contain blueprint copies for a brand new faction module blueprints. Specifically, the blueprints in question are for the Consortium Tractor Beam and Consortium Mobile Tractor Unit. This is merely the first stage in construction, with more coming. Join Upwell for a grand venture. Upwell always does a thing on a grand scale, and now is your chance to be part of that, but only for a limited time. Make sure you don't miss out on this unique opportunity and warp to the Ovikin system today to be part of something bigger. Fly safe. 07. Okay, so what do we got here? There's a lot of little details that I kind of want to draw out. Some of them are sort of random, but some thoughts. So first of all, one of the things I find most interesting here is that this is not posted by the scope. It's also, we are not on the universe.eve online website where the in-universe lore news is. We're on the actual normal news website, or Eve news page, right? The same place that they put up the new sales and everything like that. And and we notice this one is posted by the Eve online team. If we go back, we can see, let's just look at a couple of examples. So we have, this is Eve Online Community Team, Eve Vanguard Team, Eve Online Team, Eve Online Team. So these are all very meta, not in-universe sort of things. Let's see if we can find anyone that might like bridge that gap. I'm guessing the monthly economic report is like normal. Is there anything that might stand out as an example of this kind of thing in the recent past? I can't find anything. So nothing this year that I would suspect. Oh yeah, all of these are just say Eve Online Team, Eve Online Team, Eve Online Community Team. We can actually just look at it right here. Eve Online Team, so on and so forth. But if we look at today's thing, it's by Interplanetary Media Network Evermore. So Evermore has been expanding, and when it was formed, it also formed a bunch of new companies, including this Interplanetary Media Network, which is supposed to be a kind of competitor to Scope. So I find this very interesting. I think that this might be the very first post that CCP has put out that is officially issued by the Evermore media team. We'll look at the Hobo Leaks. Just wanted to mention, if you look at the Hobo Leaks new file section, the structure graphics in the site deployed classic and named Skyhook. Class and named Skyhook. Okay. Well, hold on a second. I think, let's check to see. I don't think that phrase has been used before, but that could be a suggestion. The issue with that as a Hobo Leaks thing, what they're looking at here is on Hobo Leaks. If you go up, wherever this thing is. Prototype structure. I don't know where this information is. Oh, there it is. Yeah, so it's labeled as a skyhook in the files, which means that's likely what it was, like one of the early titles for it. The thing is that like, while that's noteworthy and possibly important, also these kinds of terms get like changed a lot. I doubt it will be what it's actually named, but it could very well be. Yeah. Okay. So a couple other things that I want to look at here. So is this that unusual? What's actually going on? Now, Evermore's connection with Upwell is fairly limited. I don't know of any like really firm tie between those two kind of conglomerates. That said, you know, I also don't know very much of a connection between Scope and Upwell, so I don't know if there's a reason why Upwell would use the Interplanetary Media Network from Evermore as opposed to a different source in order to put out their information. Too early to speculate on that, I think. Oh, shoot. Sorry about that. Where's my ship? Hold on. Where'd my ship go? I was trying to orbit this thing. Normally, if you zoom out like this, you can at least see like a little box where your ship is or whatever. It's down here. Okay, got it. It's at the bottom. A little behind the magic of how it gets seen. Okay, or how I do this. Oops. Okay. So there's that. Then there's that. Dynamic camera movement. Boom. Yay! All right. So I think this is just a sign that CCP is kind of stepping up their game to the next note when it comes to the Evermore stuff. Because remember, Evermore is going to be playing a big role in the summer expansion. But another thing so what could possibly be happening here? It's very out of the ordinary. The one thing that is worth noting is that it does appear to be pointed at the planet or from the planet, maybe. Now, this is not in a vacuum, okay? Creodone, no, not Creodone. Who was it that just did the Creotech? Right? Who just did the Chemeltech. Chemeltech has been developing a new clone system and was going to show it off to the Intaki people, the Intaki Syndicate and Intaki Bank, which that became a whole snafu a couple weeks ago. It's just remember, Chemeltech is also a member of the Upwell Consortium. So all of this, like all of these actions from the Upwell, is a direct reaction. You guys hear that? This is a direct reaction from the activities of the Deathless and the Vanguard. So just like we were reading, I think yesterday or on Monday, I think it was, we went over all of the Vanguard reports and whatnot. We can see that there's a struggle between Mordu's Legion and their research wing and the Deathless's research wing for information, and that the Deathless, or that Mordu has worked to advance their stuff quite a bit, partially by stealing the Deathless's, or more importantly, the Lifebringers or Lifegivers records. Now, this appears to be kind of the next step in that, right? So all of these different pieces of the Upwell Consortium are quickly iterating and ramping up to be prepared to deal with the Vanguard situation. So Why is this important right now? So here's my first thought, okay? My first thought is that this facility or this planet is going to be the new map that's coming in Vanguard in a month or two. That what we're seeing here is the setup for some sort of catastrophe that will then have a new and different kind of map, maybe even on this structure, like the inside of this structure, you know, just for a totally different feel or something like that. That's a theory. The other thing is that like this could very well be the idea of like an infomorph transporter. You know, the Caldari have also been testing their more advanced transportation technology after mastering it enough to build the shipcaster. And with things like this, it is very possible that this is designed to teleport people to and from, you know, on and off the planet or something along those lines. However, what's also really worth noting here is that rogue drones are involved, right? They need rogue drone components for some reason. And there's a couple, so the big question that you would ask is why, right? What is causing them to need all these rogue drone components? Or what is that? Why is that a critical piece to it? Now, from a game design point of view, this makes sense, right? Rogue drones are in all of the areas of space. So by putting the stuff in drone sites, you've basically allowed anybody who has access to HiSec access to be able to do these missions or Empire Space or whatever, right? And that's cool. But from a lore point of view, hey, Aikawarazu Chan and Mad Hatter, from a lore point of view, what is actually going on here? Well, another constituent of the Upwell Consortium is Outer Ring Excavations, the mining organization, right? In fact, the founder of OR is also the current chairman of Upwell Consortium, Yanni. So the point that the reason why I bring that up is because OR has been researching and studying rogue drones for years, right? They have the subverted rogue drones in the excavators. They have the other subverted rogue drones, the JVNs. But you know, they've developed a lot of other technology, including their Frost line of tech in order to do research extraction, most notably culminating in their development of the Needlejack filament, which is the filaments that we used actually last stream in order to get to nullsec, right? Now, I have a conspiracy theory that is one of my favorites that I don't know if I hear very many other people share, but I have believed for a long time that the original like teleportation technology in the modern world comes from the rogue drones primarily. That the actual idea of filaments, the tech that allow the Triglavians to travel to our universe and us to go into the abyss, was originally created by the rogue drones. Now, the theory goes is that the rogue drones were exposed to Isogen 5, which is like the primary weird gravitonic MacGuffin in Eve, that the explosion of the massive stockpiles of it caused a chain reaction, which led to the formation of wormhole space. And the use of that same fuel was used to power Jamil's super weapon that destroyed an entire fleet of Mimitar ships by crushing their shields against them like tin cans. You know, that substance was basically manipulated by drones for a long time, and a whole bunch of rogue drones were subverted by the ancient systems that collected this stuff. And so either because of that or because of the other or something exposed the rogue drones to Isogen 5 and its properties, which allowed them to begin. This is why I believe, again, this is all just my speculation. This is why I believe that the rogue drones are able to travel anywhere in New Eden. They're not confined to the drone lands and where they can spread from there, right? And the reason why is because they actually have abilities to bore tiny holes through space-time and show up somewhere else, right? And they send out little dudes that go through it first that are called needles. And then the rest of it, they can build the big static gates that they then use to transport through. And I think that some of these rogue drones, when trying to burrow through space-time, accidentally found Clade Svarog's holdings in in the Abyss or in Bouillon, and therefore that's what led to the Drifter or the Triglavians running into the road drones and discovering their uses and all that sort of stuff. I've talked about this in previous videos. You can go into it. However, well, okay, not teleportation per se, but you get what I'm saying. So the point is that it is very possible, I suspect, that if Upwell is experimenting with rogue drone technology on this scale, along with you know, all of the other tech that's been coming out recently with things like shipcasters and all that sort of stuff, I wonder if this is designed to be a new kind of gateway or a new way of either slinging things to or from this location. Yeah, well, there is a whole thing, you know, my conspiracy tinfoil, what is it? Iceberg. We went over a lot of these sorts of things, but there is the theory that wormhole travel might, in fact, be time travel as well as space travel. So, yeah. Forum notice, due to an issue which was recently uncovered, we will be temporarily disabling all NPC in-space item traver services in EVE Online. So I suspect, that, Jeff, that means that this event that we're doing right now, that we're looking at, is basically unable to be run at the moment. You can't turn them in. So hopefully as soon as they can fix that, then we'll be able to do it. Speaking of YC110 stuff, did they ever explain how the Elder Feet bypassed Concord's defenses and Sinojammers? Oh my gosh, hold on. There's like so much noise outside today. So that's actually an interesting question. I don't know if they've actually explicitly told us, although the empires have ways to get around, like to be able to Sino and stuff. It's been done before in different places. Yeah, they can. You can still collect the items. You just can't turn them in right now. So, yeah, I'm very excited about what this event might mean. Let's look at some of the rewards. Hey, Dutch, we're looking at the new event that just popped out. Variations, compare. So the Consortium Tractor Beam. Let's see. If we go only show attributes that differ, we can see. Okay. The Consortium Tractor Unit is, so the Tech 2 Tractor Unit takes 10% more CPU, but travels at 20% faster. I think that's correct. And takes 20% and has 20% more optimal range and 10% more power grid. So 10% more consumption of resources, 20% more effectiveness. The Consortium one has the same fitting requirements as the Tech 1. However, it is almost, it's like 40% better. Yeah, it's 40% better in both tractor velocity and optimal range. So what we have here is a tractor unit that takes as much resources as the Tech 1, but is significantly better than even the Tech 2. So good faction item overall. And then the mobile tractor unit variety. Let's get rid of the, well, no, we don't need to get rid of that. So in this case, the mobile tractor unit, so the Consortium has triple the tank of the standard mobile tractor unit and double the tank, over double the tank of the pack rat, which is the previously the highest tanked one, right? So the way it works is that mobile tractor unit is the basic one. Pack rat is a little bit faster, and then the magpie is very fast. Okay, so the pack rat is also tankier. The magpie is the same tankiness as the Skyhook. Sounds like a Poco. Oh shoot! Hold on. My son's laptop overheated. uh Seems like I have a new MTU to buy for mission running. Yeah. So it has this thing is significantly tankier than previous MTUs, which is good because that gives you time to scoop them. It's also faster than the Magpie. It's twice as fast as an MTU with how fast it tractors in. In fact, hold on. It tractors in. Oh, geez. I didn't realize that the Tech 2 small tractor beam was that slow. Okay, never mind. It's not that amazing. Yeah, you cannot trade in the items right now, but you can collect it and be ready to trade them in. So it's twice as fast in how it pulls it in. It has smaller volume, though, okay? It has a smaller volume. It can only hold 80% of a normal mobile tractor unit. But it has an optimal range of 200 kilometers. So it's significantly further than, it's 25 kilometers further than the Magpie. That's pretty big. More hit points and more targeting range. Its sensor strengths. It is the same as normal. Sensor strength isn't that big of it. Actually, no, that is huge. So why does this matter? Why does the sensor strength matter? Volume is how much space it takes up. Oh, yep, you're right. You're absolutely correct. So yeah, volume. So they are. It's actually smaller, so it takes up less cargo. So okay, I think that what's happening here is that the sensor strength, it should be scan resolution, shouldn't it? Like sensor strength should be whether or not it gets jammed out, but I'm pretty sure it's also indicative of how well it scans things down. Like locks things up. Activation delay 10 seconds. Cycle time 5 seconds. Cycle time 5 seconds. Activation delay 10 seconds. Yeah, I don't know. What controls how fast it locks? How fast it can be combat probed? That's true. Okay, that's true. What's the speed bonus in a Noctis? That's going to be bigger because it's affected by your skills. Never thought of hitting one of those things in the ECM. I think that they're actually correct. The higher your sensor strength, the harder it is to probe down. I think, well, so this is going to be just as easy as a normal MTU to probe down. But, you know, you'll have time to scoop it up while it's being attacked. So one of the things I find really weird, somebody help me out. Because, like, I'm pretty sure the Magpie, like, goes after the next thing faster than the Pack Rat. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Either way, the Magpie is supposed to be super fast, and it looks like the Consortium mobile tractor unit is going to be faster than that. So let's see how much this thing might end up costing. So, wait, this is like the exact same. I've actually built mobile tractor units back in the day. So 27. Yeah, it's the exact same build materials. So the only difference between these two, this is huge, guys. This is really big. This means that these BPCs are worth a lot. Because basically, yeah, these BPCs are worth at least 280 million ISK right now. Because there's no way that the Consortium mobile tractor unit is going to go for less than the Magpie. I mean, not no way, but like, come on, right? Like, yeah, it's going to be more popular than the Magpie, but it has the same build cost as the mobile tractor unit. So each one of these BPCs that you get, which remember they're random chance per turn-in, each one of these BPCs is going to be worth 270, 280 million or more. Correct. Yes. If a Marauder, although Marauders did have their Bastion nerfed for that, they are still harder to scan when in Bastion. And oftentimes the Marauder is harder to scan than the MTU is. And also Marauders have a bunch of utility highs to have their own tractor units. Which, speaking of their own tractor units, let's look at the Consortium. Wait, there's a Consortium Capital Tractor Beam, too. Yeah, once again, I think this is the same requirements. No. Well, oh, no. For Tech 1. Yep. Same requirements, except for the BPC, and it's significantly better, right? Let's look at that again. We have maximum tractor velocity. It's faster than even Tech 2, which is great. And optimal range, it's further, which is even better. This my Gila for the Abyss is definitely getting a Consortium small tractor beam. I still think that the Skyhook is going to be some. I mean, like, this has to be somehow connected to Vanguard, right? Like, that's what Upwell is currently obsessed with. Is Vanguard and the Deathless. So I get the feeling like that's what this is going to be. Capital is just for the Rook Wall. Really? Can be fitted to capital and can be fitted to the Rook Wall. Oh my god, that's awesome. It has an optimal range of 280 kilometers. I'm sorry. Is that normal for capitals? I mean, yeah. It's like it's 40% further and 40% faster. These things are going to be, I mean, like, yes, it's just a tractor unit, but, or a tractor beam, but like, these are really strong for what they are. All right. Let's see. If they're bringing back some parts of dust, then this might implicate Pocos. Yeah. I keep thinking that if this is going to be just a replacement for Pocos, that seems incredibly lackluster. But you never know, I suppose. Upwell's mostly focused on building stuff for Capsuleers in space. I don't know, man. The thing is that, like, if you look at it this way, it's not really pointed to anything important that I can see. But if you point at this way, it definitely looks like it's going to be sending something to or from the planet, right? So either way, in a little bit, if we still have time, I'd like to go with Kato Ash and see if I can start running some of these road drone sites to see if I can find any of these doodads while we are live. But before we do that, I think that we're going to close off this segment. Upwell's getting more and more sus. Upwell's always been sus. But again, so like the big thing about Upwell, hold on. I made this. Well, here is my thumbnail from the other day. We can see that Upwell consists of Zoran Sons, Ifer & Co., Yitri, or Cameltech, Mortis Legion, and Intaki Bank. Okay? And then Propelled Dynamics was one of the ones that joined, I think, later. Upwell Consortium loyalty tokens to the prosperity of New Eden in a partnership with the Upwell Consortium. Blah, blah, blah. Propel. Am I silly? What'd they say? Who did they say it came from? Hold on. Yeah, Propel Dynamics. Here we go. Propel Dynamics was founded by the team that discovered the first functional warp drive for short warps within a system. Though it had never managed to live up to its early expectations, the company has always turned out innovative and interesting designs that have driven the field of propulsion forward. So, yeah. It's also, yeah, Ovikin 7. So there's the Propel Dynamics factory right there. Oh, and there's Yitri. Baselane Patrol, Propel Dynamics, Baselane Patrol, Allara Business Tribunal. Let's go check out the Propel Dynamics. They joined with Freedom Extension in an old 2016 article. Yeah. We were looking at this a couple days ago because of everything else, and that was one of the things that I noticed. And then we can go to universe.eve online and look up Propel Dynamics. Oh! So, fun fact, it was Propel Dynamics that was working on the technology that would later become the Skinner, or the Skins. Which is interesting. I wonder if that's going to play into it because, you know, they're updating the skinning system and Evermore is getting involved. I wonder if that's why Evermore... Wait. Okay, so Propel Dynamics is clearly Ishikone, right? And Ishikone is like one of the more kind of forward-thinking and friendly to outsiders groups. Ishikone is one of the bigger mover and players, especially in like the Empyrean Age and Templar 1. Some people might even dare call them the good guys. Where's my ship? There it is. Where can I read about this? I have a the link is in the description. They also worked on the SOE warp ring tech. That's true. Yep, that's correct. If you go look at the Stratios. If we look at the Stratios, we can see, this is actually one of the reasons why I knew the name to begin with. You can see Propel Dynamics' logo right there under Chemeltech and Eifer & Co. Okay. Okay. There was always a thing about, like, the people who work together on this particular ship. And Zero G... I don't know who that bottom one is. This is Eve, there are no good guys. Yeah, Ishikone does work with Khanid. How much has CCP reworked PI recently? Oh, that's funny. You know, I really can't. I don't think that there has been what I would call a significant rework to PI since it was introduced. So like 2010, 2011. I know that they did make some fixes to things, but like there was a UI overhaul in 2019, 2020, somewhere in there. But no, no, they don't. That isn't a thing that they do. Do I really want to know about her? Really? I just tuned in. If you give reason, you are legit. Oh, we haven't even gotten to that part yet. We haven't even gotten to Silphy yet. We got derailed by the breaking news. Yes, they changed PI, but they didn't change like the PI process, right? Like they changed the materials that come out of it, making them smaller, easier to manipulate, all that kind of, able to store more of them before it runs out of space, etc., etc. But like the act of how it all works has basically been the same. Okay. Anything else we want to dig into when it comes to this particular event and conspiracies involving it? Yeah, I'm still very interested to know, like, the rogue drone components is, I think, going to be the most, like, important piece. So I have to wait, I guess. Good move. Yeah, so let's go ahead and head back to the site, and then we will jump into the other topic of the day. Silphy and Delaba. Shoot, I can't remember her name. Diabell. Silphy Diabell. Why should you care about her? Because she's the most important faction leader that most people have never heard of. I can make a decent amount of it, but it's a hauling activity. Falsely advertised as passive. Yeah, it's kind of weird how people consider it passive. I think. I don't know if I would consider it passive myself. Okay. Today, I want to talk to you about a character in the lore because while she has managed to lay low, she has a position of power, and a position of power that's becoming increasingly relevant, even if we don't necessarily notice it all the time. So who am I talking about? I am talking about none other than Silphy and Diabla. Diabol. What is her name? Silphy and Diabell. I can say it when I'm looking at it. All right. So who is Silphy? Well, for those of you who may not know, in like in the last few years, there's been a lot of contention between the Gallente and the Caldari, in particular involving the war zone and the surrounding area around it. You know, obviously the Caldari built their gateway to Avoinen, which, no, that's not it. What is the system? Oh, I've said it so many times and now I'm losing it. Either way, they built their Stargate to Losec in the middle of the war zone, and managed to shut down the Galente's attempt to develop that same Stargate to the same system. This led to the Gallente Federation aggressively seizing the system of Intaki and taking it from the war zone, it and the two constellations near it, off of the war zone map and making it full-on Federation property. This was highly controversial, very much against the Emergency Militia War Powers Act made by Concord in YC110. And it was a, hey, pretty 777, thank you for that. And this represented a critical moment in our descent towards war. This was the very beginning of uprising. So in response to this, while Caldari could have simply, it does, thank you. While the Caldari could have caused a whole uproar about that, they actually were very, very reserved in their response to this action. And instead, they made a deal. See, the system of Intaki has a long and sordid history. The Intaki people were one of the original people that came together with the Gallente and the Manar and the Caldari to make the Gallente Federation. However, they were skeptical even back then. The Intaki, unlike the Manar, were pretty well advanced by the time that the Gallente showed up. They already had their own culture, their own religions, their own traditions. And so they didn't want to fuse themselves fully into the Gallente people. And so they have kind of a carve out for themselves that gives them at least some autonomy within the Federation. Fast forward to the Caldari Rebellion, where the Gallente orbitally bombarded Caldari Prime because of the Caldari's lack of compliance when it came to the Caldari expanding their territories by secretly creating space colonies outside of Federation control. This leads to, of course, the separation of the Gallente and the Caldari in the first Caldari-Gallente War, where Caldari had to flee Caldari Prime and went to New Caldari Prime. During this time, the Intaki people, who are a largely peaceful group, their religion is very Eastern, Janist, Buddhist kind of thing. Many of them took exception with the violent reaction by the Gallente, also not really trusting the situation. This group of Caldari sympathetic Intaki were actually banished, but were allowed to leave, and they left and they went and they founded a group called the Intaki Syndicate in the Syndicate region. Okay, so that Intaki Syndicate has then now in the modern day, fast forward to the events that we were just talking about, and hey, thanks. The Intaki Syndicate and the Caldari has made a deal. And now the Caldari have actually taken an area in Syndicate for themselves. So if we look at the map, and we go to Syndicate, and we look at sovereignty, is it NPC activity? No, it's sovereignty. All factions and alliances, right? So in this area, we see that this constellation in Syndicate, right? We see this is Syndicate. That's fine. This is Syndicate. It's part of this. It's part of the actual Syndicate group. The Intaki Syndicate. But this group of orange systems here, this is the only area of null security space that is owned by one of the core 4 empires. This constellation was given to the people, to the Caldari, by the Intaki syndicate in order to basically create a buffer zone between them and the Gallente, right? Because, you know, here we have the boundary between Gallente, HiSec, and PFTAC. But down here, we have a boundary between Greater Syndicate and... Hold on. There's a way out of here that I'm pretty sure leads to the war zone. I'm not going to try to pretend to get that from the map. But if we pull up... I think if I pull up the faction warfare map, we can look at it. Maybe? Maybe. Yeah. RQH. Oh, never mind. I have no idea what I'm talking about. But the point is that we have looked at this before, and that area of Syndicate basically protects the capital of Syndicate from Gallente intrusion in a big way. So if you've ever heard the joke that there is only one, or the meme, or whatever you want to call it, that, you know, many people might tell you that there is only one named system in Syndicate, and that is Poidot. And today we are going to be discussing why there's only one named system in Poidot, or in Syndicate, or at least a little bit more about it. Now, actually, the spoiler is that the reason why there is a system called Poidot, or why that is the only named system, is real simple, actually. It is the only, it is the capital. Poidot. It is the capital of the Syndicate, right? And you can see here that, here it is, Harul. So this is the war zone, right? And then this one system is adjacent to both the constellation that the Caldari own and the constellation that Poidot is in. So this is the critical system, MHC TAC R3, that I was trying to find earlier. Either way, so Poidot is the capital of the Syndicate, and the Syndicate has leadership, just like all of the other factions. And today, we're going to do the story of that leader. Silphy. 500 years ago, the Intaki people lived a simple life on their home planet. For them, the sky was a mystery that they were only slowly unfolding with their pre-industrial technology. Then the Galentians arrived and swept them into the modern age in one swift stroke. The Intakis, initially overwhelmed, adapted quickly. Within a century, had seasoned space travelers and active members on the Gallente governing body. They soon established their reputation as fair-minded humanists that excelled as deft negotiators and clever businessmen, fitting perfectly into the Galentian way of life. The social uproar following the Caldari departure from the Federation touched the Intakis deeply, and many of them sympathized and even supported the Caldari. The yoke of the cumbersome Federation bureaucracy lay as heavily on the Intaki as the Caldari. Understandably, the Galentians were forced to deal harshly with these elements to prevent a complete fragmentation of the young Federation. Apart from a few minor uprisings, the Federation quickly subdued the Intakis. Those deemed the biggest threat to the stability of the regime were arrested and exiled. Some of these went over to the Caldari side, but a majority of these exile, some 5,000 in total, went out into the great unknown at the outskirts of Federation space. They built themselves new homes in the form of sprawling space stations, the Federation barring them from colonizing any planets or moons. In time, as the exiles became more organized and their power increased through asteroid mining and black market trading, they formed a loosely connected organization and termed it the Intaki Syndicate. The Syndicate is not political in any sense. Each member station enjoys complete autonomy, but they share economical information and help each other in security matters. The territories of the Yantey Syndicate are open to everyone, no matter their race, political creed, or legal stature. The Syndicate is not vastly wealthy or powerful. By the way, this is written before all of these events, including the formation of Upwell and the formation, the Caldari actions. Acting as the safe havens for anyone who and everyone, where everything can be bought and sold, no questions asked. While the Federation still has the Promised Land and Syndicate territories received the residual immigrants that weren't allowed into the Federation for one reason or another, thus slowly growing in size and importance. Each Syndicate station has its own governor, who has complete authority over their stations and its surroundings. These governors are those that were instrumental in conducting the station all those years ago, or their descendants. The unofficial leader of the Syndicate in years past was the governor of the Poitot system, Dorn and Diabel. A charismatic and passionate leader, he installed order in the chaos that reigned after the exile and set the foundations of the Syndicate. Like so many prominent Intakis, Diabel was an albino, which lent his authority the strength needed to push his will through. A decade ago, Diabel died of a freak accident, meaning his mind couldn't be transferred to a clone. His eldest son inherited his father's position as station manager of the Poitot system, but trouble was brewing on the horizon. Syndicate rivals of the Diabel family were gathering strength for a coup. Not possessing his father's shrewd political mind, young Gar Diabel was clearly out of his league, and his equally weak siblings on Poitot were incapable of lending the kind of assistance needed. What is a freak accident? A freak accident's like a totally unpredictable, catastrophic, Yeah, he died in some sort of like a chain broke, which hits a thing, which pours hot, like lead on the ground, and he died in that accident or something like that, right? Like that would be a freak accident. It's just like something that's like an insane series of coincidences or bad luck. Okay. But one child of Dorn, Final Destination type death, sudden and unexpected, exactly. But one child of Dorn and Diabel was not on Poitot, nor had been for more than 5 years. Silphy and Diabel, his youngest, had been sent off to the Sisters of Eve after one heated row too many with her father. Alone among Dorn Diabel's offspring, Silphy had inherited her father's wit and passion, as well as her mother's fiery temper. Her stay with the sisters, initially intended as a punishment, grew into enthusiasm for Silphy. For the first time, she was free of her father's iron will and free to live as she liked. She struck a friendship with Sentimona Sarpati, the influential sister that also happened to be the sister of the notorious V. Salvador Sarpati, head of the Serpentis Corporation. But just as Silphy's career with the sisters seemed poised for rapid takeoff, she decided to heed the desperate calls of her family and head back to her home in Poitot. Once there, Silphy quickly assessed the situation, and then with one swift stroke of as cunning and brutal as any her father had deceived, she seized the initiative. I think it's devised? Either way. First, she altered the station charter so that from now on, the populace would elect a governor for life. This went unopposed, as the family enemies thought that this was a sign of weakness. Their view confirmed a week later when one of their own was elected governor. But then, Silphy put the next step of her plan into motion. She secretly arranged for attacks on all inbound food supply ships, thus slowly putting Poitot Station into a state of starvation. Naturally, the enraged populace blamed the new governor. Silphy, using her Sister of Eve influence, then had emergency food supplies brought in on vessels of the Diabel family, which were, of course, left alone. Thus, Silphy made herself a champion of the people, and when the governor was driven out of office, Silphy won the next election by a landslide. Having shattered the reputation of her enemies, she started systematically ruining them financially, until she was the undisputed leader of Poitot Station. At the same time, Silphy strengthened her position as the head of the N'Diabel family. She sent her brothers abroad and kept strict control over their monetary allowances to keep them dependent on her. She has also slowly asserted herself as supreme leader on Poitot Station, the brief influence of the populace soon to fade to nothing. In the years since Silphy N'Diabel became governess, she has regained her father's prominence as the unofficial leader of the leaderless Intaki Syndicate. Her power has never been seriously tested, although she has lost her connection with the Sisters of Eve once it was discovered that she collaborated with the Serpentis Corporation in her bid for black market dominance in and around the Federation. Santimonia Sarpati, once her good and trusted friend and ally, has turned her back on her and just calls her the brother King. And just as she calls her brother King Sarpati, she now mockingly calls Silphy Queen Silphy of the Syndicate, stating that they complement each other perfectly in their exploitation and contempt for their fellow humans. So yeah, that is Silphy N'Diabel. I thought there was another one. Chronicle Silphy? Is this it? No, this is the same one. There was also one about the Sisters of Eve. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Is this it? No. There's a whole thing. There is a chronicle or story about Silphy, where she's having a conversation with the head of the Sisters of Eve. Yeah. This is the same thing as we just read. Here we go. Ante. How long is this? Can we read it? We can read it. Screw it. Let's do it. This is the Chronicle Ante. When she suddenly stopped walking at the base of the dropship gangplank, Silphy N'Diabel's entourage halted abruptly and turned to see if something was wrong. They waited patiently on the tarmac under the blazing Intaki sun for several moments as she stood absolutely motionless, staring at the ground. Miss N'Diabel? The only decorated space police officer in the bunch stepped forward, reaching out for her arm. She waved dismissively at him and knelt slowly, pulling her long braid of synthetic blonde hair behind her shoulder as she ran her hand across the concrete landing platform. Tilting her head to examine her palm when it came back covered in a thin layer of dust and small pebbles. Smiling, she stood up and rubbed her hands together, nodding for the entourage to continue on their way to the cathedral's spaceport terminal a few distance away. Despite the glaring sunlight reflecting over the glass-paneled surface, she could see several figures anticipating her arrival near the main entrance. As she led the group to the terminal, the last two armed escorts established positions near the ship, one of them leaning in closer to the other and whispering, "What was all that about?" Not taking his gaze off his responsibility, he whispered back, "Been a while for her." Making his way through the murmuring crowd of worshippers as delicately as possible, the courier approached the hooded woman from behind and coughed subtly, standing with his gaze averted. When she casually turned around to meet his gaze, he seemed on the verge of choking, but managed to stutter, "I have a message for you from Internal Security, Reverend Mother." "Go on," she breathed, downplaying the conversation so as to not attract the attention of anyone else in the chamber. A sprawling temple just as impressive for its size and grandeur as it was for the haste in which it was constructed. Despite the fact that her official title was Chief Executive Officer, she had to admit to herself that she secretly enjoyed being called Reverend Mother by the frightful, superstitious locals on many of the worlds her organization aided. All of the Sisters of Eve ever asked for in return for their humanitarian assistance was permission to construct cathedrals dedicated to their faith. And over the years, they had perfected the science and art of completing such structures in a matter of mere hours. The one in which she stood had a ceiling over 30 meters high and could seat 20,000 worshippers during its daily services, one of which had just ended. "A ship has arrived," he began, glancing in the direction to make sure that no one else was within earshot of continuing. "A syndicate ship." The woman pulled her hood back over her shoulders, revealing a tight bun of thin brown hair held in place by an ornate ivory clip. She folded her hands into the sleeves of her robe before chiding the messenger. I believe this is a matter the local authorities can handle, my child. The syndicate knows their place. So if they... Interrupting her and immediately regretting it, the boy clenched his eyes shut, expecting to be harshly reprimanded, but spoke his piece anyways. Not they, Reverend Mother. Her. Her? She inhaled as if to say something else, then stopped abruptly and looked around the room. When she finally did finish her thought, she spoke a little too loudly, prompting more than a few bystanders to take notice. Silphy is here? Yes, Reverend Mother. She waits for you in the rectory. Instantly understanding that he had overstayed his welcome, the messenger bowed his head respectively and dashed off through the crowd of dispersing worshippers. Sentamona Sarpati met the lingering stares of several onlookers before replacing her hood and gliding off towards the arched corridor. Silphy was standing with her back to the door when Sentamona entered into the meeting room. An oddly shaped octagonal chamber with smooth metal walls that curved inward near the ceiling to create a geometric pattern of etched relief. Directly opposite of the door was a wide double-paneled window looking out on Intaki V's capital city, Linoika. Its flat-roofed buildings boiled in the red afternoon sun. She didn't move at all in response to the Reverend Mother's arrival. I was told that there would be rain today or tomorrow, she said to the window. Sentamona loosened her silk rope that kept her formal robe closed and moved to a seat in the low, square table in the very center of the room, which had but 2 chairs. When she was certain that the elegant garment had fallen properly over her crossed legs and was free of any wrinkles, she replied, We found meteorological reports rather inaccurate on this planet, considering the late sequence of this system's star. Conjuring up a hollowed smile, she offered, Stay a few days and you'll see rain, I promise. You'll have to find accommodations in the city, though. Only sisters are allowed living quarters on the premises. You understand. Remember, Silphy used to be a sister, so that's a pretty big slight. Silphy didn't take the bait, just stared out the window. Thank you for seeing me on such notice, Miss Sarpati. I'm not quite certain why you wish to speak to me, actually. Resting one of her pale arms on the table, she drummed her fingers. Is your station experiencing another food shortage? Silphy turned at last to look her in the eye, but still refrained from reacting to Santamona's repeated jabs at their tumultuous history. Instead, she copied her smile and played along. No, but you have the syndicate's continued thanks for the sisters' assistance in that matter. Santamona nodded appreciatively, but only for appearance's sake. She continued counting quietly to herself. 28, 27, 26. How are your efforts proceeding here on Intaki 5? Silphy reached the table in 3 steps, but didn't sit, instead leaning on it just enough for a shadow to pass over the other woman. Will you be here much longer? As I'm sure you remember, Santamona replied, the cathedral is always our last item of business for any project. She motioned for her guest to take a seat, but Silphy straightened back up instead. I'm sorry, Santamona amended, but I'm not exactly certain what your title is these days. How should I address you? Syndicate titles are purely for internal use, so you needn't worry about them. I have, however, returned to using my family name. Silphy paused for a few moments, looking at Santamona inquisitively. Do you know what my family name? Do you know what Ndiabel translates to, roughly, in the original Intaki dialect? As she spoke, Silphy strolled around the conference table with the practiced ease of a seasoned politician circling her audience. Knowing that she wasn't really expecting an answer to the rhetorical question, Santamona simply raised her eyebrows and waited for Silphy to continue her train of thought. Good, she said with a smirk. How much longer? 2, 1, now. Santamona lunged forward on the table as Silphy hurriedly took the opposite seat and closed as well. When next she spoke, the sister had an urgent, hushed tone. It was a little more difficult to time the punctuated recordings in this facility since it's so new. When the sensors realign during this log, everything between now and the point when it resumes will look like a momentary glitch, which the operator will probably chalk up to sunspot activity. We might have only a few moments. That's all we need if everything is in place. If that crusty old merc refuses to talk to me directly, you need to convince him that including us is going to be much easier than locking us out. Silphy slammed her hand down on the table to conclude the statement. Her eyes shimmered in crimson-tinted light that streamed into the room. And if he refuses? All traces of ire had evaporated from Santamona's voice. Silphy turned her head and clenched her jaw tightly before answering. Tell that traitorous son of a bitch that the syndicate isn't going to sit idly by as another government ignores us. And if Menz thinks that those pedantic mercenaries are going to hinder our business one bit, he is sorely mistaken. Leaning forward and composing herself, she spoke calmly. What I mean is that we have something to offer both entities if we are brought in on the deal. During her brief emotional response, a lock of her hair had escaped the lengthy braid running down her back. Reaching out across the table, Santamona gently pushed the loose hairs back behind Silphy's ear and smiled. Yes, that's more like it. Flies with honey, my dear. Silphy almost reached up towards her hand, but stopped herself short. What do you think he'll say, Mona? That depends, she said, her attention seemingly elsewhere for a few seconds, then reasserted herself suddenly on what you're offering him. Remember that you have two flanks to address, and in my experience, Muria can be very difficult. Silphy leaned back on her chair and crossed her arms, taking the time to choose her next words carefully. Tell him that the Federation hasn't controlled trade in this system for decades, and that if he wants that blood money from Menz to keep appearing in his bank account, he'll learn to respect the local culture. Ah, now that's going to be a hard sell. He's not happy about your little stunt with the Zephyr shuttles. Everyone who produces shuttles took a noticeable hit when you did that. If you offer the right commodity, I'm sure he'll reciprocate. Covering her mouth in a vain attempt to stifle her laughter, Silphy nonetheless refused to look away. When she was able to control her mirth again, she explained, I think I have just the thing his corporation would appreciate. There's a funny story behind those shuttles, by the way. I don't think we have time for it. You're right, Santamona replied abruptly, standing up and pulling her robe tightly about her. 12, 11, 10. Mirroring her posture as she stood from her seat, Silphy leaned towards the table once again and shot her counterpart a seductive grin. After a few seconds of silence, she asked, You ever miss it? Every day, Santamona replied with a nostalgic sigh. 3, 2, 1. Reaching back and putting her shoulder into the effort, Santamona whirled around suddenly, lashing out with one open palm to strike Silphy across the face. The impact's sharp crack echoed across the room as Silphy tumbled backwards into her chair, landing on the floor in a disheveled heap. Shrieking at the top of her lungs, Santamona stormed around the table, pointing accusedly at her prone target. Does your arrogance have no bounds? When Silphy had recovered enough to sit up and wipe the trickle of blood from the corner of her mouth, the sister continued, I won't jeopardize this honorable organization to subsidize your criminal agenda. You're pathetic, Silphy finally uttered, pulling herself up and immediately assuming a defensive position. Beyond the doors, she could hear the security escorts arguing with the Sisters of Eve guards stationed there. I can see right through you, sister. You're insane if you don't think that the Intaki are going to figure out why you're really here. This was your last chance to get through with any semblance of your obsolete cult intact. As the doors burst open and half a dozen armed men encircled each woman, Santamona shrugged off her protectors and released a parting shot. I should have known you'd never change, Silphy. Get off this planet. Glaring at the Reverend Mother spitefully, Silphy shook her head and stalked out of the room, her escorts hustling to keep up with her determined pace. They marched through the cathedral without stopping until they reached the gangplank of the dropship, which was casting an elongated shadow over the landing pad, its metal hull sizzling under the unrelenting sun. Silphy turned to face the ornate buildings, her eyes following the swooping architecture up to the steeple at the top, which was emblazoned with the Sisters of Eve holy crest. Sadistic witch, she spat. Not far away, in the cathedral's security chief office, Santamona watched Silphy intently on the holographic display. With her sentry still nearby and her chief respectively out of the way so that the older woman could use his station, she studied Silphy's every move, frowning as the syndicate's official leader spit on the ground in contempt before boarding her ship. I often wonder which is more perplexing, the fact that she abandoned the sisterhood, or that she was ever allowed to join in the first place. Reclining in her personal quarters above her starship, Silphy took a sip from a glass of ice water and held it to her cheek, wincing reflexively. Chuckling to herself, she tapped her password into the console embedded in her chair's armrest, prompting a translucent heads-up display to appear in the air half a meter in front of her. Scrolling through several waiting messages, she chose one of the more recent ones and read it quickly. Silphy tapped on the controls that would establish a direct connection to the person who had sent the message. She waited patiently until her screen evaporated, replaced with the three-dimensional head of an older man covered with elaborate facial tattoos. Silphy, he said respectively. Mr. LeConte, she answered, nodding slowly. Have the other families reached a consensus? Yes. He looked around as though there were other people in the room with him, but none were visible on the holographic display. They've agreed to your plan. So what's your next move? Consolidate all data received from the Zephyr program. Everything those oblivious encapsulators have given us on wormhole space. Prepare the data cores for immediate transport. A representative of the Sisters of Eve will be arriving shortly to take possession. LeConte nodded. I think you've really nailed this one, Silphy. That's precisely the kind of token Ishikone won't be able to resist. I know, she concluded, touching the disconnect button and raising the glass to her cheek again. She sent the remainder of her journey back to the Syndicate space, staring out the window of her cabin, unable to conceal her nostalgic smile. And that is Silphy. It has Mercy in the title? No. Yeah, there's the Mercy one was a different one. Did that lady just call us oblivious? Thank you. So what we see here, this is kind of why I wanted to share it to you early, because like obviously without knowing who Silphy is, this entire story is very confusing. But there's a couple things that's worth like paying attention to here. First of all, Men's Repla, who's the guy that they're referring to, is the leader of Ishikone, right, at the time. Let me check out real quick. I don't think I spelled it right. Hold on. I look up the Caldari state. I look at the factions. We should be able to find Ishikone Corporation. Still has Men's Repla as the CEO. My recollections is a red system. Need to research? You mean Intaki? Because that's actually a good question. Wait. Shoot, I can't look it up from a distance. Actually, wait, yes I can. Color by geography, actual color. So yeah, Intaki is a red star. Or an orange star, whichever you want to call it, but not a blue one. What exactly are the Sisters of Eve? So the Sisters of Eve is I've covered this a little bit in previous video, or covered pieces of it in other videos, but the Sisters of Eve are mainly known for their humanitarian aid efforts in those suffering because of war, famine, or even those being just lost in space. But the Sisters of Eve base their existence on strongly religious belief. They've coupled with scientific facts. They believe that the Eve Gate is a gateway to heaven, that God resides on the other side of the gate, as well as dedicating themselves to aiding those in need. They're also busy with scientific experiments around the Eve Gate, hoping to gain a better understanding of the forces that work there. And there's the orange system of Intaki. Our peers out in Syndicate were more or less directed out there by CCP Dropbear back in the day. Only Half Forgotten didn't stop them from creating a lot of player lore. Yeah, so, okay. There's a lot of pieces going on here. First of all, so the... So Men's Repla... Actually, hold on a second. Hold up. I gotta look something up. Can I just pull this up right now? Shh. No, it's Templar 1. Shit. It's gonna be bright. Sorry. So here we see we've been talking about this. There is the Life Giver, right? Life Giver, which is like the name that came out of this whole stuff with the Vanguard, right? Life Giver is one of the people, senior medical people, it would appear, involved with the Arkhambine. Arkhambine at the time was connected to Mordu and Mortis Legion. So, and they were mercenaries. So let's look at this. There's going to be a lot of, hold on. It's at the end of the book. Let me just look at the end of the book. So Vince, yeah, Men's Repola is talking to her here. So remember, this is after everything's come down, everything's gone down. The Templars have been stopped. These immortal clone soldiers have been discovered, and now all of the other empires want their hands on it. Dr. Dietrich, Men's asked, how is our patient doing? Stabilizing for now, Gable said. Though I don't know how much I had to do with that. His anatomy is incredibly resilient. Is he cooperating? He trusts me, Gable said. He fully understands that we can't help him until we learn more about him. But there's a concern I have. What's this? What's that? His entire hippocampus and thalamus has been replaced with a cybernetic implant I've never seen before. And there's more technology I'm unfamiliar with. For example, I think his entire spinal cord is a transmitter of some kind. It probably is, Men said. He's a prototype. The technical specifications for his clone type will be here shortly. His normal body temperature is elevated already, and his back is almost hot to the touch, she said. I'm guessing it's still broadcasting. We'll look into it, Men said. Do you have anything else you need? Do you have everything else? Yeah, do you have everything else you need? Yes, this facility is state-of-the-art, she said, but the drones are very intimidating. They're for your protection, Men's explained. You know there are risks. I understand and appreciate it, she said. My colleagues, Raleigh, is very impressed with your background, Men's commented. You two are going to be working closely together. Raleigh? R-A-L-I? Aha! Wait. Ortro, who managed to recover from his long sister Milla, struck up a partnership with her and her associates Garvel, benefiting from Milla's years of cooperative espionage under the guise of an escort service. Together, they targeted Riley Rush Akimo, chief financial officer of Ishikone. So yeah, so that's who this is. From him, they extracted information on Raven, a secret project that Akalin was unaware of, which Raleigh was funding to ensure his position within the company. One of Milla's madams pursued Raleigh to work with them through the means of blackmail and preying on his weaknesses. During a board meeting, Raleigh unveiled the Raven. It was sent to unregulated space and attacked by a Garissa's fleet. Otro used this to convince Fatal that he must tell Bane to halt the ongoing attack on Gavriel and Milla. Base refused, blah, 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 blah. So this is old. That's old. That is old. Proof of Akalin's corruption was present to the board and established Otro Garyushi as the new CEO of Ishikone, joined by his sister Milla as CFO. But Otro Garyushi dies, right? He's the one that dies. Yeah. Yep. I can put on the end of Otro Garyushi. Hold on. Oh shoot. Is it Quantum Rising? No, it's. I'm silly. Oh God, stop. Whatever.
We're broadcasting live from inside the Ishikone headquarters in Malcolin, where the scene is utter chaos. This summit was supposed to bring hope to Gallente-Caldari relations, but the Federation escort, a Nyx mothership flown by Alexander Noir, has set a deliberate collision course with this station. Thousands of people are forcing their way to escape hangars now, and our team is desperately trying to make it out on one of the evacuation.
So, that is what happened to Otro Garyushi. And I think Men's then takes back over. Yep. Here in 2014, he's the CEO. Okay. So, at the time of this story, he is the CEO. And Milla might be back to being the CFO. Hard to say. One day you two can run your mothership into a station. It's also worth noting that, like, so that wasn't actually Alexander Noir. That was another guy who has tons of connections, and all of the protections that were normally in place to prevent that sort of disaster, both on the station and on the ship, had been disabled. So it's not like it's even like a normal person can't just grab a Nyx and fly it into a station either. Yeah. So the point is that this Gable, who might be codename Lifegiver, who also, by the way, I had this corrected by Dutch Gunner actually the other day. So Gable is in the Empyrean Age books as well. So she's a character in both Empyrean Age and Templar 1. And she's originally a Caldari, but she's been converted to the Amarian religion. So one of the things I've been thinking about doing, and one of the things I want to do, let me know if you guys are interested. But one of the things I want to do is, like, reading Chronicles is really good, like the one I just did. And the longest one I've done so far is the novella, The Odyssey, which is kind of the pre-video story to Empyrean Age. But rather than do a full reading of Templar 1, or sorry, of Empyrean Age, which sounds like a lot, what I'd like to see us do is like a book club, right? So every week we have a day that we walk our way through the story of the Empyrean Age, one chapter at a time, right? So we'll discuss what happened in the previous chapter, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Don't tip them about it. Wait, they might change. I'm sorry, I don't understand. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Are the Sisters of Eve strong compared to the others? I really actually love them. My character is totally based on their name and legacy. So, thank you, Aikawarazu Chan. So the Sisters of Eve are kind of divided into two categories. Honestly, one of the best places to look at for that. Hey! Thank you, Sheesh. In EVE Online, wouldn't they be baseliners rather than NPCs? Well, not all NPCs are baseliners. There are NPC capsuleers. And Thank you very much, Sheesh, for that $10 super chat. Make sure to like the stream and his post, like I just did. Okay, so if we go back to the Chronicles, we can see. Just do this. Okay. I think it's 1. Meh. There's one where they talk about the sanctuary. Either way. So the big thing is that there are 2 branches of the Sisters of Eve. They are incredibly well connected individual, as far as an organization goes. Thank you so much, Sheesh, for those 5 gifted memberships. Virewolf, Dark, Shimmeries, Arya Valentine, and Tesa, thanks you for your gifted sub, and thank you for your support, man. I gotta say, a little bit of an aside, trying to make my finances work now, like with everything going on, not being able to stream the last couple of months, I had to go into the negative again. Got it fixed this morning, but like, man, I'm just so glad that I can do this for you guys. Thank you guys so much, and thank you for all your support, and just know that it does in fact go to good things like my son and my guinea pigs and my cat and my crippling raid addiction. Less that last one though. So yeah, thank you very much. I'm not even opposed to baseliners. Minda Lyre will remain my favorite minor characters. Yes, that's true. But so the sisters have connections like everywhere, right? So they have a former sister is the head of is one of the heads of Air Laboratories. Because of their kind of peacefulness, they have connections throughout everything. But they also have their secret project. They've been doing like research on drifters and drifter technology in wormhole space for years. And the system of Thera was discovered like when the sisters when Thera opened up to everybody else, it was revealed that the sisters had been there for quite some time. So, like, we don't actually know fully what they're up to when it comes to that kind of stuff, but they are probably like that of all of the groups that are not an empire. They're probably one of the most like active movers and shakers of like things happening in the world. Yeah. So another couple of things that's worth noting in all of this, like Silphy with the Syndicate in that story. They're talking about, she's calling her out for her, is this the right one? Yeah. She's talking about her activity with the Zephyr. Now let's talk about the Zephyr. The Zephyr is a hard to spell ship. It is a very special ship. It has a unique model. It's actually the same model that's used in the Space Oddity, which is like the David Bowie tribute that can be found. But it says in the description, the Zephyr is a unique starship design relying almost entirely on solar winds for sublight propulsion. Superlight sails allow it to ride the torrents of photons streaming through space, and its bare-bone construction gives it tiny sensor footprint and almost negligible mass. Originally conceived by the ascetic Intaki polymath Valsis N. Dilat as a demonstration of minimalist starship design, it was never intended as a commercial venture. The recent discovery of uncharted sleeper territories and their myriad wormholes have brought the Zephyr new attention. Its mass makes it ideal exploration vessel. Valsas remains adamant that the Zephyr never sees mass production, but in the close of YC111, he authorized the Intaki Syndicate to distribute a single hull to every registered capsuleer. So, but that isn't where the story of the Zephyr ends. We can also go... Hold on. Is it really? I thought there was another news article about it. Well, it came out that this Zephyr that was given to everybody, the Zephyr has a unique and interesting property in EVE, which is that it will not be targeted by sleeper drones in wormhole systems. So the actual reason why... more Sisters for Eve later, please. Oh, yeah, I'm sure we'll address it. And hold on, let me see. I know I've talked about this before. Let me see what I can find. I don't. All right. Well, we're apparently going to do a deep dive into the Sisters of Eve soon. All right. So, but hey, man, it's all good. Concord Assembly lowers alert status of as capsuleers encounter with drifters raise questions. That is, well, that goes into where it talks about the Zephyr, but it isn't where that came across. There was a whole thing about the Zephyr being developed and then it coming out. Yes, it's there, but that isn't the news article that I'm looking for. So there is it came out shortly after the Zephyr was released that there's all kinds of secret telemetry and sensors packed inside of the Zephyr. So that's the reason why they gave all of the capsuleers these ships, right? So here's this ship that's explicitly designed to be ignored by sleepers. In fact, from a CCP's point of view, it was given out as part of Apocrypha, which is when the wormholes came out, in order to give players that were interested in exploring the puzzle box of Apocrypha, or of the wormholes and its lore and all of its mysteries, it would allow you to do that without having to be able to fight the sleepers themselves. So the whole point of the Zephyr was designed to allow players to explore wormhole space. So that's why in this news article that we're looking at here, this news article that's about the drifters, this is like the very beginning of the drifters encounters, right? So back in 2015, when the drifters first showed up, there was a discussion about it. And in the end, it says, the most prominent activity and engagement with the drifters seen in the last 24 hours has involved independent capsuleers who have quickly moved to investigate the newly visible structures and the mysterious vessels that have appeared in proximity to many of them. Capsuleer pilots have reported significant wormhole activity associated with drifter vessels and have pointed to a clear link in both sleepers and the Jovian race. While pointing out these aspects of the drifters, capsuleers have carried on a variety of experiments to test the limits of these entities. One pilot, Katsuko, even established that the drifters will use deadly force against the low-energy Zephyr-class exploration ship. As sleepers are well known to ignore these ships, the implication of this behavior are troubling. So, the Zephyr, yeah, they still get targeted by players. That is correct. So, but if we take this back to the story that we were looking at, that's what she's referring to, is the fact that basically the syndicate gathered all of this telemetry data, all of this information. Yeah, it's by this. It's by the Syndicate. The Zephyr's developed by the Syndicate. Did I say something else? Well, sorry. The Zephyr was developed by a single Intaki person and then was distributed to the player base by the Syndicate. So mass produced by the Syndicate might be the better way of putting it. But yeah. But the idea was that the Syndicate did this. Hey, Punch! Oh, 70 you. Yes. Good luck. Get out there, kill some rogue drone sites, bring some loot in. Just need to lift something with your wife and be done. Promised. I'll see what I can do to distract people, pretty. Let me know when you're back. Yeah, well, I mean, it is basically an exploration ship because it does have a probe launcher and everything. And thank you very much, Punch 07 to you, and good luck with your real life stuff. So the point is that what we're seeing here in this conversation, get back, go. But this is an interesting one, right? Because like at the end of Templar 1, Men's is having difficulty. Hold on. Blake, Miles, blah, blah, blah. Afterwards. Yep, nope, that's it. Where is Men? Mordu looked into Repla's eyes and for a brief instant recognized a much tormented version of himself. You saved my son's life. We are with you. Men's looked away. Thank you, he said. We'll find out soon enough if you really are. So, yeah, so Men's is the CEO at this time. So let's go. I'm impressed by what you've built here, Mordu said, if not somewhat unsettled. Lurking in the shadows, drones were following him everywhere he went, always within striking distance, and those were just the ones he could see. First the broker, now Heth, Men said. I trust machines more than people now. You don't really mean that, Morty asked, do you? Men's flashed a brief smile. You came here. You can come here whenever you like, he continued, leading Morty down a hallway. The pickup location is random, never the same twice, and you must always come alone. Morty followed the doors open in front of the Ishikone CEO. There's windows that showed the space outside, but all he could see is swirling dust. Word of caution, though, Men's added, stopping before the final door and turning to face him. If the drones suspect that it's being followed, one of the two things can happen. It'll either stop whatever it is, wherever it is in space, and eject you from the ship, or it'll lead you and whomever is following you something unpleasant. Morty looked in Repla's eyes and for a brief instant recognized a much blah, 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 blah. Cool. But will the trigs target them? Yes. Now I feel like looking through, like, this is why I want to do a read through, especially of Empyrean Age, because I have the audio book for Templar 1, but not the there isn't one for Empyrean Age. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Here we go. This is the end. Rally and I will be here a few days a week to continue your education. Are you going to be here? Hold on. We're far, far away from Ishikone. Right. So yeah, Men's goes basically into hiding. I wish I could remember what we talked about. I love you very much. Ben said it was a bad idea. No, Amelia. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so Villamo, Raleigh built him. Don't let his size fool you. So Raleigh, the same techno guy, built this android for his daughter. And then he goes and meets up with oh, okay, Valamo. Hold on. Here we go. My falling contributions to Ishikone are almost too numerous to count, but first and foremost, he is an engineer. The best there is. He can build anything, including the cybernetic technology you might need to save Vince's life. That will come in handy. Reverse engineering him sounds like quite the business opportunity. You're welcome to express your opinions, Doctor, but this work is important. Vince isn't the only one here whose life is in danger. When can I meet her? Milla asked. Soon, Men said, staring into the room where Amelia was sleeping. She needs some time. Velamo has taken a liking to her, Milla said, noting the drone sprawled out in front of her bed. That shouldn't be possible, Men said. I always thought he was built that way, Milla said. Velamo was built to learn and to hunt, Men said. The nurturing behavior is new. I'll have Raleigh look into it. You're asking a lot of him, she said. I ask a lot of everyone in my life. Taking last look at his daughter, he turned and walked straight past Milla. Men, she called out. I'm sorry about Laura. Don't ever say her name to me again, he growled. So, here's what I think is slowly pulling together, okay? I think that what we're seeing here is that Men's Repola through and Ishikone worked with Mordu's Legion to develop the clone soldiers for the Caldari, or at least for Mordu, and that collection, or that this leads directly to the Arkhambine, the formation of Arkhambine, right? So I feel like all of this just lends more credence to the idea that Lifegiver is in fact Gable, who is in fact the person that was given early access to Templar drone technology, or Templar implant technology, and one of the top engineers of the Ishikone to develop new clone soldier devices. Remember, Ishikone are the ones that made the original subcranial nano controllers, the ones that the cheap knockoffs that the Lidai made out of the tech that they stole from Ishikone, or not Ishikone, from actually both of them, both Ishikone and Lidai likely built their tech off of Intaki technology, the mind transferring tech that was stolen by Lidai in like 2016, 2017. So like we're going to continue to look very closely at these developments and what it means. But like what I find really interesting here is if we go back into this chronicle, okay, here's the tinfoil of the night. Okay. They say, he, right? Oh, also, there's this tattooed guy, right? Mr. LeConte. Let's see if he has anything. Because I'm going to guess that he's a thucker. Nope. I don't see anything. Not mentioned anywhere else. Wait. Hold on. I feel like I'm having a madness moment. There. Found it. So Mr. LeConte appears to be... Is he an in-game character? There are two people with the last name of LeConte. They both look like players. But the point here is that I would imagine that this is a Mimitar pilot or a Mimitar person because of the tattoos on his face, which would lead me to believe that he could be Thucker, right? So Thucker Ishikone, Ithaker, Ishikone, Intaki, Syndicate. These are all people that were and Sisters of Eve. These are all people that were particularly interested in wormhole space, especially at this time, and the sleepers that were involved in that, right? So this article came out in 2010. So let's see. Let's see. What else happened in 2010? Book of Emptiness. Oh, yeah. So that's when Sancha attacked. So yeah, this is completely after all of the Apocrypha event stuff. Yeah, even Xenocracy is before then. There it is. We should probably look into some of these other chronicles to see if we can find any more hints and whatnot. Because I don't know about you guys, but at least it feels to me that all of this is like, it feels kind of connected, doesn't it? So either way, if I go here and I see them talking, they say, what is it? So where is it? And if Menz thinks those pedantic mercenaries are going to hinder our business one bit, he's sorely mistaken. Okay. So, now it was a little more difficult, blah, 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 blah. We might only have a few minutes. That's all we'll need. If that crusty old merc refuses to talk to me directly, you'll need to convince him that including us is going to be much easier than locking us out. So there's an old merc that they're talking to. And if he refuses, tell that traitorous son of a bitch that the syndicate isn't going to sit idly by as another government ignores us. And if Menz thinks that those pedantic mercenaries are going to hinder our business one bit, he's sorely mistaken. So it seems like, you know, like this is mercenaries that are associated with Menz, but not like within it. Great, cool. What I mean is that if we have something to offer both entities, if we're brought in on the deal, during her brief emotional response, a lock of hair, blah, blah, blah. And then she goes, what do you think he'll say? And then it goes, that depends on what you're offering him, which, of course, she eventually offers it to Ishikone. So they're talking about Menz. Remember that you have two flanks to address. And in my experience, Muria can be very difficult. So yes, there's two flanks. There's Menz Repola and Muria Mordu. And then tell him that the Federation hasn't controlled trade in this system for decades, and that if he wants that blood money from Menz to keep appearing in his own bank account, he'll learn to respect the local culture. What does that mean? Well, let's go back over here and see. So, in a brief press conference directed primarily at the FDU, Federal Defense Union, i.e. Gallente Militia, and independent Capsuleers, the Intaki Assembly today requested that all Loyalist captains cease hostilities against Ishikone and Mordu's Legion vessels in Intaki space. The Intaki spokesman stated that vessels belonging to Ishikone Corporation and Mordu's Legion are, quote, present in Intaki at the specific and uncoerced request of the Assembly, end quote, adding that, quote, any captains detaining or destroying such vessels are acting directly against the interests of the Intaki people as determined by the Assembly, and further are reviewed as committing acts of piracy. She did clarify that Ishikone Corporation is permitted to operate only in civilian vessels in the system, and Ishikone Watch is explicitly excluded from the entry under the terms of this agreement. Mordu's Legion, however, has been afforded complete military access, subject to command oversight of the civilian assembly. So, you know, Mordu's Legion was actually brought in to protect the Intaki system because it's a point of contention between the Caldari and the Gallente. But the thing is that, like, Federation Navy turned back at Intaki Stargate. So, Where is it? The future of Intaki has been subject to much speculation since the arrival of Ishikone and Mortis Legion vessels several months ago. While many citizens have assumed that the liberation of the system would see a return to the previous status quo, signatories of the Federal Charter retain the legal rights to determine various aspects of the assembly of their original territories. This includes the shipping and security franchise, which regulates commercial blah, 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 blah. Sources within the Intaki Assembly assert that the deal with Ishikone and Mortis Legion was made in good faith in the interests of the Intaki people. On condition of anonymity, a senior official said, quote, the Ishikone agreement represented and continues to represent the best option for the long-term safety and security of our society. So this is, so let's, how far back do I need to go for this one? If we go to the Chronicles, can we find it here? Blind auction. So in this chronicle, we see the auctioning off of the various different star systems within the war zone, I believe. There's the Intaki, isn't it? That's the only thing that makes sense. Yes, Intaki, if you could pull it up on a map. Yes, here we are. Here's Classic Contested Zone, currently under Caldari occupation, and as you say, up for grabs. And here's Intaki, 2 jumps from Stackbon in the wrong direction. It goes without saying that it would be better off for us to use this situation had never occurred in the first place, but reality is what it is, and the home of the major federal members is about to become property of the Caldari Megacorp. We're not exactly on good terms with any of you right now, but even so, some outcomes are preferable to others. You want us to pay? You want to pay us to buy Intaki? The political layman. That's probably how it looks. Yes. Who are they? Who's talking here? They just don't refer to anybody by name up here, do they? All right, let's look at this. He strolled. He. Time passed. Who's he? Oh my God. Am I crazy? It's funny what kind of behavior donors envelop when they did the donation first. Makes you feel like you're sitting with Ash in the same room and like family funny, isn't it? Aw. I like hanging out with you guys. I really like hanging out with you guys. That's why I'm okay with just like meandering our way through this. Yeah, no kidding. That's a Proteus. Please, no names. Yeah, okay. They're making it a really strict point that they're not telling people who these people are. Maybe? The point is that they auctioned off a whole bunch of the systems, and Ishikone bought, ended up buying Intaki, right? So they had ownership rights over Intaki because of that, which is where I think that they got, hold on. There's subcranial nanocontrollers, and then there's transcranial microcontrollers. that right? Hold on. Yeah. Ishikone. Ishikone has announced that it'll be selling transcranial microcontrollers to interested holders at bulk rates. Ishikone is opening its arms with the Empires with its unprecedented offer, reads the press release from the Megacorp. With recent debate in the Empire, knowledge and acceptance of transcranial microcontrollers will only grow. By offering to keep prices low and affordable, many holders will now benefit from their numerous applications as a method of workforce control. So that's not great. Contact their nearest Ishikone representative for pricing and ordering size details. Yeah, so when people try to tell you that like Ishikone was the good guys for helping develop Vitok, also realize that they developed the replacement for Vitok, the transcranial microcontrollers. So this is in 2009. Sounds proper, Mar. Yeah, so Ishikone. When did Ishikone buy Intaki? Hold on. Aldari system auction. Come on. So 2009, 8, 11. YC111. Lidai attacks? Hey, Governor Agard. Research station up in flames. Lidai conference suffers electromagnetic attack. Yeah, it's just business. Lidai announces Black Rise development. I remember there's literally just like a list. Where is it? Man, a lot of news happened this year, huh? We're only in September. Kentucky Prime relief. Hold on. Since news broke out of the shortages on Kentucky Prime, has been delivering aid. Revealing the effort by the Intaki Liberation Front for the Intaki people, there have been large response from Galand Carlani and other Gallente pilots who wish to remind New Eden that Capsuleers loyal to the Federation has not forgotten Intaki Prime either. Does this show anything that's useful to me? Nope. Grr. Oh well. NOH is the best megacorp. My opinion will not be changed. NOH is part of PKN, though. They're pretty shady. Please stand off and Intaki Prime ends peacefully. Nothing of interest. Nothing really that important. Ah, yeah, found it. It's literally the fucking headline. Ishikone wins development rights to Intaki system. Okay, so just here we go in the conspiracy. Ready? On August 20th, YC111, Ishikone wins development rights to the Intaki system. Okay? And then we go all the way back up to the top. We search for... Okay, so no, I'm wrong, right? I'm just totally wrong. Because the usage of transcranial microcontrollers was banned prior to... Yeah. They went to go sell transcranial microcontrollers the month before they managed to take control of Intaki. Right? So I'll have to look in to see whether or not there's any other evidence that shows that Ishikone did anything with these transcranial microcontroller. But, yeah. Oh, yeah, no, they've been doing transcranial microcontrollers since 2004. Yeah, this was a whole thing back in 2006. Or YC126, 2004. Well, yeah. Well, NOH of PKN is probably the least shady. Hold on. Oh, that's spoilers. Yeah, let's take a second to while we're doing all these discussions, I do want to point out that this show is supported by all of you guys that join members and all that sort of stuff. But there's also merch, like our good friend Bad Boy Smooth got, and he wanted to sent some pictures of it. So he got a mug and a shirt and a hoodie. He said that they're all really cool. Heck yeah. And of course, it supports the show. And, whatever. So this is the Mauro logo, obviously. You can get it with the Convocation logo and whatnot if you want. But yeah, thank you very much. So, anywho, I thought for sure... to stop it from getting completely trashed. Since we're talking blah, blah, blah. Federation gives us a pile of money, which we then use to make sure that we get Intaki. So there's definitely some conspiracy going on here. But eventually, Mordu became kind of the defenders of Intaki. Oh my gosh. They became the defenders of Intaki. But that recently was kind of undermined. Right before the invasion, I think. Yeah, so here we go. Back in 2010. Oh, no, that's the one that we already read. Is the Mimitar actually strong compared to the others? Is there any statistics? Because I used to play 34 multi-box with Mimitar only. I mean, Mimitar are probably, like, militarily the weakest of the four empires, but they've actually gained a lot of political power recently by exposing the Amar in their spying ring. So now the Mimitar are actually allied with the Caldari. So yeah, the point is that Mordu, Silphy with the Intaki Syndicate, Upwell, the Intaki government, Ishikone, and most importantly, the Deathless and Arcambine and Lifebringer or Lifegiver all seems connected to this situation. Like, all seems connected here, right? We still have some missing pieces, but I really think that what we're seeing is that, like, we're seeing the edges of a, I guess, conspiracy, a union that has been growing over time, right? We've been the Arcambine in particular has been fairly opaque, especially after the events of Dust 514. And of course, Arcambine is now very important thanks to they're leaving. So the Arcambine abandoned the Mordu and joined the Deathless Circle. Arcambine Warclore Mercenary Group, formerly reclassified as Deathless Circle members by DED with Sorrow red warrants issued. Anything about the new drone event? Yeah, so basically there is where's Hobo Leaks? Whatever. So there is a new item. Actually, let's just do this. So we have this drone graviton emitter. That's it, right? That's the thing? That's the doodad? Yeah. So this drone-designed emitter can be found equipped with some small drone commander units and appear to allow impressively precise manipulation of cargo with tractor beams. So this drone graviton emitter can be found from the sentient rogue drones, like the boss rare spawn rogue drones, as well as crates that can be found in high-sec rogue drone sites, okay? And then once you collect those, then you bring them here to Avoiken, where you will find this facility, whap, 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 over here. You can come here, and at this box right here, there should be, I don't know where exactly in this whole shtick you would turn them in, but as this small secure container says right here, currently the turn-in is disabled. So people, as far as I know, you cannot turn in for this thing right now, but you can go and collect the MacGuffins to be ready to be turned in as soon as they fix it. These pieces give, or, you know, by turning it in, you get boxes. When you turn it in, you get one of these All right. You get one of these reward crates. And when you open them up, you'll get loyalty tokens that can be turned in to NPC buy orders. We can see that there's like, they get sold for 100,000 each. And you can also get consortium mobile tractor units and consortium mobile tractor units and and tractor beams, both capital and standard tractor beams. They are roughly 40% better than their Tech 1 equivalent and are better than any other tractor beam or MTU available. They're really, really good and have the same manufacturing costs as a normal tractor unit or tractor beam. So the vast majority of its value is in these blueprints that can only be gotten by turning in the graviton emitters. So, and that leads us back to like what this thing is all about. We talked about like, oh, well, is this a space thing or anything like that? Like, here's the thing about gravitons, okay? You know what else like emits graviton? Like gravitonic energy is what Isogen 5 is all about. A stream of gravitons is how they open stargates. You know, gravitons is manipulation of gravity. And so all warps in space-time, all space-time manipulation that occurs in EVE, most of which occurs via gravitons. So this goes back to my theory that the rogue drones actually developed what is now like the needlejack filament technology, and you know, they're effectively attempting to hijack it, perhaps, but unsure. What is the requirements to build them? Like I said, if we can look and see that the small tractor beam blueprint requires the exact same material as a standard tractor beam. Okay. So like, let's look at this. See, exactly the same materials. Yeah, so there are NPCs. I'm assuming that it's the sentient NPCs. Those are usually the rare spawn or the road drones. And then they said that there's also cans. That's the reprocess? Correct. But we also... You can see there. There's the required input materials. Yay! They're the same. Yeah, kind of like the Shadow War, but way more accessible to players. The announcement says that you're going to have to wait 24 hours? Nope. Actually, it's really interesting because you would have thought that these MacGuffin or these pieces would have used the MacGuffin, right? Like it would take some of the graviton emitters or whatever, but nope. So I think that might wrap it up for today. Yeah. Tomorrow we will be back, and I'm probably going to be going after these sites, looking for some pieces and seeing what's going on, or talking about any other news or developments that happens. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's discussion about what's coming up and a little bit about this Intaki Syndicate and some stuff that maybe you didn't know about. If you didn't know about it, make sure to like the channel. If you do know something that I missed, make sure to comment down below. And of course, subscribe to the channel so that you can get the latest in news and EVE and all that stuff, because I've been Ashtarothi. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to put EVE into context for you, my fellow Empyreans. thank you guys for coming, and thank you to all of my supporters who once again make this possible, especially Pretty, who just became a member, as well as Malik and Sheesh and Bad Boy Smooth and Ari Danica and all of those guys that have been doing so much with me and helping me out getting through hard, like, well, recently it's been hard for everybody. So we're getting through all this together. I look forward. I hope to see you guys tomorrow. I've learned not to promise such things, but if you want to fly with me, go ahead and join the Convocation of Empyreans. But either way, you can always just join our Discord. What's going down in the Syndicate? Well, the Syndicate has made deals with the Caldari State, and the Syndicate are directly connected to Upwell. If you're interested in EVE and haven't gotten into it yet, or if you haven't acquired your free million SP, did you know you get a free million SP? All you have to do is use my buddy code, which is not being linked. Why is that not being linked? Hold on. Hold on. Will this work? Oh my God. Stop making me accept things. Where's my chat bot? Turn it on. Okay. If you need a million free SP, make sure to use the link down below, or that's linked in chat right now. That will send you to a random referral link of one of the people that helps make my stream and alliance possible. If you want to fly with me, you can join the Convocation of Empyreans. You can also join our Discord and flag yourself as interested in YouTube and other things in order to receive notifications. You do not need to be a member in order to become part of the Discord and ask questions and get involved. But all that said, once again, thank you guys all for coming. And until next time, I've been Ashrothi, the voice of New Eden, and I'll see you in space. And welcome back, Pretty. Glad to have you back. We have a video that's just for people like you to get you caught back up. Watch this first. But hope to see you in Discord or in-game. 07.
For every city